So I think so. I don't know, you can hear me. You can all hear me. Okay, fine. So the thing is that maybe just to remind you a bit on the on how we can go ahead and have the class without any hitches is if you want to speak, then you can basically your hand. You can have your hand, and then I'll be able to see it, and then you can unmute yourself. Okay, fantastic. So today I would like us to basically look at the first part of the session. So I was supposed to actually post the schedule on the e-learning, but I think I had a little disconnecting to the credentials on to connect to the e-learning system. So I have already notified. I will try to make sure that I do it today probably. So you will get the sequence of what will be done and then the expectations. And then one of the key things that we are going to go away with today is basically how to write title and hopefully the abstract of your work. So that is the main thing that we're going to do, how to get to the title. Okay. I hope that is fine. So let me just say, so let me just try to project what I have. So the first part probably I would like you to have is, let me just go to present. Okay. Okay. Share screen. Okay. So you can all see. So what we were looking at last time is I did a brief introduction, but basically I would like to just repeat the same and then give you a little bit of the technique or how to know whether your work is basically original or not. So we did talk about the how to determine your originality. So maybe just to remind you on what we did, what we said. So originality, basically we're looking at we're looking at two things. Either you are coming up with a new approach, or you are having a new problem and then you want to give a new approach to it, or basically using the existing one. I don't know what you are able to see. You're able to see what? Maybe you can unmute and see. Hello? So I can see. Are you able to see what I have? You can basically unmute yourself and then you speak, because I'm not able to see the comments as I do. Okay, fine. I think this is good. So the first thing is where we need to start with is for your case, I think I will strongly recommend that you for a new problem, and then start first of all by applying what is existing. So if in the process we get to a new approach or a new technique, that will be fine. Okay. Or we could have a new technique, but this is rare for participants. I can mute all. So anyway, so then what we are saying is that if you have a new problem, then it is innovative enough to just have an existing technique applied to it. Then you can apply also to an existing problem, so you don't have problem if you have a new technique. So those, or the last one is, which is the most thing that you can do, is you can have a new problem and then apply a new technique. So if you aim to have a new problem and a new technique, then you are likely to be anywhere near here. But if you just aim to have a new problem and then applying the existing technique, then you might not manage to get to this particular point. So that is the way we'll judge your originality. Try to think of a problem that is emerging, so a new issue that is coming up, and then you can start first of all by applying existing techniques that we have. Now in computing, since we are dealing with computing, then we are saying that we are applying this technique that we are talking about is, or approach, is a new or an existing or a new approach in computing. So what we are doing, especially for the undergraduate level, is basically we are doing automation. So there's an existing way of doing things, which is manual way, and then you try to automate. Okay. I think there's something wrong with my setting. It's telling me the class is about to end in about 10 minutes, but let me just sort it out background. So in case the class ends, then you just get out and then you enroll again. So that will be able to work. Okay. So anyway, so you have a new problem and then you like to set up you like to use a new technique. So what I was saying is that this technique that we are talking about is an automation process in computing. That's what we are talking about. And then you could have a new technique. So a new technique in computing, okay? A new way. Like for instance, you want to develop a new method that probably uses so maybe you want to improve on because the power went off on my side, so I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now? To explain a bit on so I was trying to explain on what you are expected in terms of when you are coming up with the problem. So I don't know where the power went off because I just noticed that I was talking to myself. Anyway, so we were looking at how you derive the problem. So you have then a new problem, and then you can have a technique, or you have a new technique, and then you apply into an existing problem, and or you can have a new problem, then you get, as a result, you get a new technique onto it. So I've now, I think, not go off again. I have now backed up with my data bundle so that then I don't get out. So maybe you could give me examples of what you want to do. Then you can tell us whether you want to do you want to basically have a problem, and then existing you have a new problem, and then which method will you want, which approach will you want to use, or which technique do you have, and then what would you like to apply? I don't know whether you could be having some, maybe you can give me like a brief of the problems that you want to sort out in your project. Hello?
Na uliza Terence. Ajans. Ilikuwa na
Hello? So you could think about what particular problem you have, and then what do you want to solve. It could be a new problem, and then you want to apply a new technique, or you could be having a new technique that you, and then you like to apply a new problem, a new an existing already problem, or they be both. But let me just go to the next one, then I can be able to show you. Like, for instance, a possible IT related or computer related could be you have a modified artificial neural network that you want to process on classical image processing. So you want to be able to identify, like to develop an application that identifies people who come in. So like at the gate there in the university, probably you want to get to develop an application that is able to basically identify people instead of us instead of you being asked to give give the ID or something like that. So something that will your image and then recognize. So that is not a new thing. Take a new way of maybe faster processing because you'll have more people coming in and so on. It could be also the aspect of what I gave as an example last week is there is a new problem of COVID-19. Then how do I detect it, or how do I determine that I have COVID-19 or not? So the detection techniques, like for instance, taking temperature automatically being linked to your system, it's not a new approach of doing it. But then the problem of COVID-19 is new. So you'll apply temperature reading, maybe doing an IoT stuff that basically detects your temperature as maybe you're wearing a smartwatch and stuff like that, and then it can detect your temperature, and then you can be able to do that. um, so that could be the thing. Then the next thing that I wanted to look at, and I think is the to the aspect next time, but today I want just us to look at you'll be given basically ideally how your thesis is going to look like. Idea is not just the thesis or the structure, but we want to formulate something in mind. So you have an aspect that you want to to do, and then you want to you document it. So it's not the other way around that you want the documentation is not what is important. What is important is what you are actually developing. So that's the thing. But you have to format it in a way that it can be understandable to another person so that then it makes sense. So that's what define the length, the font type, the layout. I think the same thing that you did in your second year. And then the references and so on. So I want to dwell on the abstract. I don't know whether I will have time. So the title page, you will have a student. And the first thing is you'll have the title of what you want to do, and then the student name, and normally put into brackets the registration number. And then you will have the proposed supervisor, and then in the end you will have basically the supervisor. You'll say Strathmore, this partial fulfillment of informatics degree, and then you'll have to always you can put on your document, you'll have an automatic update so that then the last time that you printed it, it captures that date. Now, that is not really complicated. So that one you'll just copy paste and see how the general format that has been provided, which I will give on the e-learning. Now, the title should be short, and then it should describe the study. And then in the end, you normally include the keywords. Now, it should reflect the problem, the proposed solution, and generally should have no more than 120 characters or no more than 15 words. So if you find yourself going beyond there, then it means that you have not defined well your you have not gotten properly what is your problem and then what's the proposed solution. So you just need to have a problem and then the solution. So that's what we are going to see. But summary of what you want to do. Summary. So this is very important. So it's like an advert. You want to say exactly what you want to do, and then at the end what you want to achieve. Then should not also exceed 200 words. So this is what you will need to have in the abstract, the problem to be investigated. And then you will need to have the current state and the limitation to it. Like how is the the problem being solved right now? In fact, like for instance, ideally, you'll expect that your system will give maybe less false negatives or less false positives, whichever. So, or your accuracy will be higher than what is basically less. I have there. It's an extract from a paper in a journal. So, are you all able to see? I don't know. Okay. So if you are seeing, then okay, fine. So I would like you to derive for me at the title from this. First of all, let's get to know what is a problem. From what I have, give me the problem. And then as a result of have there, proposing, and then as a result of that, I would like you to give me the title. So this is what I will expect. So I want you to give me the problem and then the technique or the approach used or the solution, and then from there we can derive the title. Can I give you like 5 minutes? I think we are almost over. Hello? So just read through that. Give me the title. Maybe you can type it somewhere in your word so that then we can be able to see.
Yes, so the problem is most elderly people, they fall because of lack of support. So they're trying to find a system that will able to detect falls, especially for the patients who are elderly.
So what are they doing currently? Like what is the current state? What methods are they using now?
So currently, they have to manually like look for those people who are falling, but
Okay.
they're going to automate that system where they will able to know who has fallen automatically.
Okay. So you are saying that basically, and then we have the limitation of
They are trying.
false positives and false negatives, right? So
Yes.
the thing is that there's the manual aspects. So currently there's a manual aspect, and then they want to automate the process. But in the automation process, there are current systems, but then these systems basically give false positives or false negatives. Then, so they want to loop to give that as that is what they want to see, and therefore, this what is the specific solution that they want to give? Someone else, maybe. Someone else? Jessica?
Yeah, so The solution that they're proposing is a smartphone-based fall detection system, which uses they have sensors on the elder's body so that they will reduce the false alarms. And when the elder falls, the system sends a notification to the caretaker so that they can be attended to immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are basically, if you look at what they are saying, is that there is they are proposing to use the problem of false alarms. The system included a novel technique for the recognition of those activities of daily living that could be erroneously misdetected as false. So there is a slight improvement. You see, it's not like these systems do not exist, but then the systems exist, but then they bring up, there is a new problem that comes as a result of you trying to basically detect the so then we'll have to consist of you can either look at it from a basic point. So like for instance, you can talk about smartphone based fall detection system. I think at this level it's okay, it's allowed. So that's what case you can talk about what is the other possible title. Is fall detection system for the elderly, but then here you have not defined what is the novel, what is the solution that you are giving. So at least for smartphone based, so then you are saying you're using a smartphone to provide a solution for this problem of elderly falling. You could also talk about the specific method that is being used. So like maybe it's I think in the paper they talk about the use of artificial neural network that then is able to, or if you are doing a fuzzy expert system that basically is able to detect that. So that is at a higher level. Probably you could be able to give that. So lastly, so that is how you will have to define your your titles. So that's how you like to have the titles and the abstract. So the abstract here we are saying is that you have to in the abstract you have to say the three things that we talked. Of course, the first thing is you have to say the problem, then you have to say the current state. So the current state for this particular example is that currently probably you have to have people who are looking at it manually and so on. And then but then there are some existing approaches of doing this automatically, but then they have a limitation in that they have false positive detection. Therefore, in the proposed system, you want to use that novel approach. That's what you're proposing, and so on. And then you summarize what you expect as an output. In this paper, they have not explicitly said, like for instance, maybe you'll say it was able to detect through the false at this particular percentage. So that is what you will be. So this is the way the paper is. Smartphone-based fall system. I think you can be able to Google it up and you can get it, the full paper. But then So the thing is that this is the way you will have to think about in your own providing of the solution. So whatever that you are thinking of doing, you have to formulate in this kind of manner. Now, just before I end, there are two things that I want to warn you about. Is now doing in computing in other areas, it is innovative. I think it's about to log us out. In other areas, it is innovative for you to be able to I think it is innovative for you to say, like, for instance, this issue is applying to Kenya. But for computing, then you have to justify, like, for instance, a security system in Kenya is the same security system that will probably be applied in Singapore or Malaysia. So then you have to justify why that particular thing is innovative, in that probably for the group A, because I can see the group B has just come in. So what I was saying is that in the innovation part, what matters is not the area, but then what are you basically coming up with? Like, for instance, developing a mobile application that is able to automatically detect next to me whose temperature is higher, so that then I can disappear from there, because then that likelihood of the person having symptomatic COVID-19 is there's a possibility of that person having COVID-19. So, like, for instance, how will I detect the how will I detect that the person, that is a person, not the weather? So, like, the weather can be 39, you know. So first thing is I need to detect that the smartphone probably needs to detect that this is a person, and then take the temperature. Now, if it takes that, so you have to know how to set that it can only measure temperature from a living thing. So in that particular case, then you can be able to have your smartphone as you walk around, then it will tell you, avoid this area, avoid this place, because I have measured across, and this particular person has a higher whatever chances or something like that. Or so that is a problem that can be local. Like, for instance, in the slum areas, the people are very congested. So that gives a more innovation to be able to see a case study of Kenya or something like that. But otherwise, then we normally, if it is something that can be applied in France, Germany, and Kenya, then the innovationness is that particular aspect that you're coming up, which is very new. or the fact that we are, in our case, probably the way of tracing is a bit more difficult, then we can actually have a new way of tracing that can only apply in developing countries, because maybe developed countries, they have a clear way of detecting where you live, they have the numbers and so on. As the majority, 80% of the population. So what I would like you to do is probably you're going to give me your your title based on what I've just looked at. So I'm going to post this data on the e-learning, then you can be able to give me, and then the title and abstract. Then from there we can be able to you can be able to plus the proposed supervisor, and then from there we can be able to move on. So I'm going to post the names of the supervisor on the same link that I'm going to create for you to be able to post your title and abstract. I don't know whether there's any question from the group B before I release you. Now there's a way in which we take attendance. So it's just, you don't have to give me like type. So I think we have configured the system such that then it automatically says when you come in and when you go out, so that shouldn't worry you on how on how I'm going to take the attendance. So that's what I will stop for group A and then move for group B. Any question? Hello? Any question from? Good. So I'm sorry about the hiccup on the power going off and so on. So for group A, you can decide either to remain or you can actually leave. But I think it will be better if you leave, so that then I don't also get a bit confused online. That good? Fantastic. So let's go to group B. Are you there?